Okay, we're going to learn this Taisus Venisha Be'even, which means if he bangs on the rock. And the Gemara was discussing that in the Sefer the Brisa it says that if a person has a barrel, a tzloichas, a bottle that ends up smashing against the rock, so the person is chayiv. And we asked, a bar is pater on kalim. Why is the owner of that rock going to be chayiv? So, according to Shmuel, we answered that was specifically Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that you're chayiv on kalim in a bar. According to Rav, we explained that it wasn't really a bar. We explained that because he owns the rock, so it was considered a shar. However, Rabbi Lazar came along and said that the only case where you would be chayiv is if you actually tripped on the rock and you banged on the rock. But if you tripped on the ground and you banged on the rock, then you won't be chayiv. We said that had to do with the machlekes between Reb Nassan and the Rabbanon. So I just want to show you over here how we're going to work this. Obviously, if a person trips on the rock, what I did is I just made 4 possible cases. And the upper line here is where he tripped on, and the bottom line, the second line, is what he banged against. And we're talking about a bottle that's breaking, a keli that's breaking. So, and it's either according to Rabbi Yehuda or it's according to Rav that where it's a shar. In Shmuel, it would go according to Rabbi Yehuda, that is. So if he trips on the rock and he bangs on the rock, that we have no question. Everyone agrees that you're chayiv. And the key says that if these slanted lines are in the box, then that would mean that this case, tripped on a rock and banged on the rock, is chayiv. If you tripped on the ground and you banged against the rock, so we said that that's a machlekes between Reb Nassan and the Rabbanon. So we'll put the lines this way just to show that it's slightly different. This machlekes. Actually, the Lishna Kama holds that you're pater in Rebbe Lazar, and the Ikadamri hold that you're chayiv. I can put that in. So we'll do let's just do Reish Nun for Reb Nassan would hold chayiv, and the Rabbanon hold pater. And the reason for that we explained is because the ground is the real one that caused the damage. It just happened to be that it banged on the rock, but the ground is the one that caused the damage. Okay, now this is the one that Tosfos is going to discuss. So we're going to make a circle right there. That is if you trip on the rock, but you bang on the ground outside. So let's make a street over here, and let's put some sort of rock right over there, and we'll have a person who bangs his head right over there, and that's his arms, and he tripped over that rock. So he tripped on the rock, he ends up banging his head. We'll continue the street like that. Okay, so he banged his head on the ground. That's going to be the discussion here in Tosfos. Okay, obviously if he trips on the ground and he bangs on the ground, that's clearly pater, so that I don't have to even talk about. Okay, so Tosfos says like this, V'nishuf be'even, if he bangs on the rock, dafka nakat denishuf be'even, specifically takes, nakat is to take, it takes an example, rather. It takes denishuf be'even, that he banged on the rock. Aval niskal ba'even, but if he tripped on a rock, v'nishuf bekarka, and he banged on the ground, which is this case over here, he trips on a rock. Sorry for my stick figures. He trips on the rock and he bangs on the ground. So that would clearly be, according to Tosfos pater, the karka olam izikase. That's a case of pater, and that's why it's not filled in. To make that clear, I'll put over here just an empty box as a key. Right, pater. Okay, nothing filled in means pater. And so those bottom 2 cases would be pater. Okay, now the words of Tosfos says the karka olam izikase, because it was plain ground that caused him damage. Those words are very familiar to us because Rav said that before, and I want to show you what Rav said. Rav said that the only way that you can actually have a bar where you'll be chayiv because of bar is in water that you put there. It happens to be you made it ownerless, but or else it would be a shar. But without getting into that, if it's something that you put there, so Rav would say that that's a bar. So I'll fill this in, like water, for example. You put the water there. However, the ground Rav holds is the ground. Rav holds is karka olam. How could I write that in there? I'll just make a little line over there. Rav calls that karka olam, and your putter. Okay. Shmuel, on the other hand, held that whether it's you get hurt in the water, um, obviously if it would be kalim, it wouldn't be a problem, and there's really no such thing as a person getting hurt on water, although Taisus mentioned before that there is, just not common. But whatever the case is, it's a case of a bar, and the ground is also a case of a bar, which means that Shmuel doesn't hold of this concept of karka olam. Okay, so if that being the case, that both the ground and the water, something, whether you put it there or not, but because you caused it to make a damage, so you would be chayav as a bar, whatever cases bar is chayav on. So if we look back in Tosfos, Tosfos says that this case where a person falls on the ground, he's pater because karka olam is ikasei, sounds very much like what Rav would hold. But what about Shmuel? Would Shmuel hold that that case should be chayav and really I should fill that in? I'll just to show you what that would look like. Okay, that we would fill that in. So Taisa says no. Vafilu Shmuel, and even Shmuel Maida would admit. Oh, let me do that over. Vafilu Shmuel Maida hacha. Even Shmuel would admit over here, the putter that he's going to be putter. Kid the putter kaman ba'apara, like he makes putter further on in perak hapara. I'll add in the word perak, so you'll be able to recognize that hapara is the fifth perak. Daf nun gimel amid aleph. You see the one dot. Okay, whenever it says, by the way, Visham means that over there it talks about other Visham. Over there it says other places where it's mentioned. Okay. What does it say there? It says Niskal Bebar, that if you trip on the pit, it means you don't actually fall into the pit. We can do the same thing and just imagine that this is a hole in the ground. And he trips over the hole in the ground somehow. Maybe it's like a narrow hole or something. But he falls to the back of the bar. Over there, Shmuel said that you putter. Okay. Taisus basically told us clearly that this Gemara says that you putter. The only thing is we can't figure out why you're putter, because in the Mishnah we said that if he hits the ground, then you would be chayiv. Here he's hitting the ground and he's putter. Again, he's tripping on a rock, hitting the ground. We said putter. We said, oh, that's just like the Gemara in the fifth parak where he trips on the bar and he hits the ground. He's putter. Fine, but what about our Mishnah? Vahahi de la'el, and that of above that we learned before, de la'el. In the Mishnah, that's not the translation of la'el, but la'el means above. But in the Mishnah, but nevertheless, that's what we're talking about. The mechayiv Shmuel, where Shmuel said that you're chayiv tzarech lu'ukma, you have to set it up, which means set up the case. You have to establish the case. Kegoin, for example, shenechbat bekarka shahamayim nishpachim aleha. You have to say that that case was slightly different. So I'll extend this story over to here, and we'll put another line in, and we'll make over here a puddle of water. Actually, I should do that in. Let's pick another color. So we have here this water. It's a puddle. So then we'll do our stick figure. We have this guy. He hits the water. He hits the ground directly where the puddle is. But let's say he would hit the puddle right there. Yeah, and hit the ground right over there. He tripped in the water. Right, tripped in the water. He slipped in the water, hits the ground out of it. That would be a different story. So again, tzarech le'ukma, we have to establish it. Going, for example, shenechbat bekarka, he banged on the ground, shehamayim nishpachim aleh, that the water was poured on. The dami lekarka abar, because that is similar to the ground of a pit. Just like Shmuel holds that if you have a pit, right, and you have this animal that falls in it. Let's make an animal over here. This animal falls in and bangs his head down on the bottom of the pit. So Shmuel says you're chayiv, as we colored that in over there, that if you bang the ground you're chayiv. And Shmuel doesn't say karka olam. Why doesn't he say karka olam? He says because that you created a damage. It's not even though you didn't put it there, But it's not just karka olam. You made that into a damage. So here also, the water that's directly under the ground that's directly under the water is your mazik. You created that as a damage. If you slip in the water and you hit the street, that street is not a mazik. That street is just belongs to the city or to the rabbim. But if you actually hit the ground underneath, directly under that water, then you would be chayiv. So actually, this is a very interesting case. When we say you hit the rock, if you trip on a rock and you hit the ground, um, that would be perfect in a case of a rock. But if it would be a case of water, let's say, I'll make it over here again. Very similar case. It would be water and ground. Now this would not be so simple. Let's take another color and I'll show you why it's not simple. I'll fill it in like this. Not as a machlekes. Actually, you know what? Let's do back. Let's go like this. And can we do it the opposite way? Yeah. We'll fill it, grade it like that. And this will depend on which ground, and that's how I'll have to do it. I'll have to say which ground. If it's the ground directly under, I don't have to fill this in. You'll figure that out. If it's the ground that's directly under, then you'll be chayiv. But if it's the ground that's over there, even though he slipped in the water and he hit the ground, so that would be pater. Okay, we're gonna stop right here. So let me fill that in so you'll see exactly where we stopped. We started there. That is the Taisvis.